So it is Monday and the Springboks have just announced their side to take on the All Blacks this weekend. It is probably one of the earliest times that Rassie has ever announced a side, but quite a few changes compared to what we saw in the Eden Park Test match, and a very different looking backline compared to what we saw in Test match number 1. But jumping straight into it, the front row, it is identical to the Eden Park Test. Number 1, Oxenshad. Number 2, Malcolm Marx. And number 3, Thomas du Toit. Some expected maybe to see Wilco Low get himself the start in this contest, but sticking with what worked at times up against the All Blacks already, Malcolm Marx not having his best game, but overall is a world-class player and will bounce back for this Wellington Test match. Here in the locking duo, we do see the change. Lutiaga gets his start at number 4, and number 5, they are sticking with Ruan Nokia. Now, interestingly enough, there is no Eben Etzebeth for this Wellington Test match, the most capped Springbok of all time, and it just goes to show that even the experienced guys from that first match, if they didn't quite have that outstanding performance, Rassie ready to get rid of them and give another guy that opportunity. In the loose forward trio, we do see a reshuffle. Sia Kolisi back to number 6. He is going to also be the skipper for this contest. Number 7, Peter Steph du Toit. And then number 8, returning from suspension, Jesper Wiese does get that jersey. Last week, we saw Mako van Staden. He is no longer in the Springbok side. We also got to see Sia Kolisi play as the 8. But now for this game, does make that switch in the 19 combination. Kobus Reinach as the starting 9 with Sasha Feinberg, Ngume Zulu as the 10. These two made a massive impact, making their way off the bench. And it was only really once those changes started to be made that we saw the Springboks starting to get those tries. No HANDRE POLLARD whatsoever for this match. Instead, off the bench, it will be Manie Libbok. I know that that makes a few people nervous, but overall, what I'm seeing from this lineup is the Springboks are going much more attacking than we saw at Eden Park. And Wellington, they have got a pretty decent record. They will look to push the pace, try and run the ABs off their feet. Out on the left wing, it is Ethan Hooker, a man who made his way off the bench in the last contest up against the All Blacks. Damian Valimza takes on the number 12 jersey. That, for me, is probably the most surprising selection of the whole lineup, and that is only because Damian Valimza, he can cover that 10 as well as the 12, but theoretically the Springboks already have two very capable 12s in Damien de Allende and also Andre Esterhuizen. Some would have thought maybe if de Allende wasn't playing, we would see Esterhuizen take on that role, but instead Andre gets that chance off the bench. Number 13, Kanan Moody. So moving from the wing in the last contest into the centre pairing for this match. Number 14, sticking with Cheslin Colby. And then number 15, it is Apelele Fasi. So no Willie Leroux for this Wellington Test match either. So overall, a lot of changes to the starting lineup. And the only man to keep his spot in the whole back line is Cheslin Colby. Now, definitely not a bad player to have as the lone last man standing of this backline, but it is very intriguing to know what kind of style of rugby we will see from South Africa. And this contest, moving on to the bench, they have got a specialist hooker as the number 16, Manus van der Merwe, rather than Jan-Hendrik Wessels, who does now move to number 17. Wilco Low as the 18, Arges Snyman back off the bench. I feel like his sort of impact that we could have seen in the Auckland match could have been very handy for South Africa. I actually would have loved to see him start in that number 4 jersey, similar to what we saw up against the Australians in Test match number 2, but Lutiaga, he does get that chance. Instead, Kwaka Smith, Mr. Impact, still going to be there as the number 20. Grant Williams, 21. Manie Libbok, number 22. And number 23, like I mentioned, it is Andre Esterhuizen. So going with the 5-3 split here again for these South Africans. But this to me also looks like a team that maybe was already decided. Of course, it had to be decided pretty early for it to be announced on the Monday. But I would say that 90% of this team was already on paper heading to New Zealand. But now just a couple little switches. Overall, not many injuries, though, for South Africa, which is a massive bonus. As we know at this stage, the Rugby Championship is close, and every point is absolutely crucial at this stage of the comp. But do, of course, let me know what you think of Rassie Erasmus's side. I will mention we now have to wait 3 days before we find out who the All Blacks will be selecting for this contest. So it will be quite some time, but for now, we know one of the two teams heading into Wellington. The Boks want that redemption, and I'm very excited to see how this team goes for the contest. But thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all for the next one.